All right, let me do a quick intro real quick before we jump in.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Second Floor Experience Podcast. We are finally back in person. Been doing some tele-podcasts for the past few weeks. Oh, we got to turn the music off.
We're jamming. This is a good blooper.
I live by the old code of second floor.
Why look for a scientific explanation when you can put blind trust in an invisible Sky Daddy?
Sky Daddy all the way.
Go watch your crappy sitcom. Turn up full volume, why don't you? Aubrey, weird, I can't even get through my couch.
I was like, why
It's
is
a
it so
hard cut.
loud?
It's a hard cut
Can't
when
even-
Joseph goes, oh no!
Can't even hear myself talk. And anyway, so we're back in the studio. Zach's back in Texas. And we thought, what a better way to start off the first guest of the new year than to bring a repeat guest back on.
Let's go.
We have Zachary Lonergan here. Welcome back. Welcome back. You were on probably almost about a year ago. We were talking about
Just
off camera. And you were in our like professional setup. Probably the
Yeah.
most professional setup we've ever had
Yeah, dude.
with Mr. Josh Job. Thanks for letting us use your studio that one time. And that
That was so nice.
was
Oh, yeah.
super nice. So
You guys were just treating me like a princess.
we really were. We were giving you the
Sweet.
the treatment. And so now you're in the new updated studio. You swung by like a while ago too, and you saw it, but now it's been updated. And so we're pumped to have you back on, man.
I'm pumped to be here. This is fun. I love doing podcasts because it's what I do by myself all the
Anyway.
time without recording it. I just talk to myself.
Dude, you were
So
made for podcasts.
I just don't shut up. I think that's the issue.
You see, everyone thinks that like to start a podcast, you have to be a good talker.
No,
You just got to be a good listener.
exactly.
That's all. And you
Yeah.
just got to have
Very
guests
true.
that can talk. That's
And
all.
trust me, there's people out there like me who just want to talk. I have things to say. I don't know what they are, or I don't even know what they're gonna be. But
Yeah.
they're out there.
Just go
Well,
with it.
and if
that's the fun of it.
And if you're listening right now and you didn't listen to Zach's episode, go back and listen to it because you get kind of like his life story. So
Yeah.
we're kind of just like starting off, hanging out. We're going to talk about some cool topics, some things you've been digging into lately, some
Yeah.
crypto stuff and some
We're just gonna
whatever
get into-
whatever else we get into is going to be
Yeah.
fun. But if you want to know more about him, then go listen to that episode because that was more his like life story and life lessons and stuff.
Probably a little bit more controlled.
I want to say it's like episode 14.
Really?
13 or 14, yeah.
Dang.
So,
14, and then
somewhere
you
around
guys
there.
did 53 in a row.
Yeah. So this is our 54th, I
That's
think.
so crazy.
is our
Doing
54th.
53
This is-
of anything is a lot.
Like,
Well,
never-
yeah, well, 54 weeks in a row.
Well, yeah,
So,
people can't commit
yeah.
to diets that long. Like for real, they
Dude.
can't commit to like
Yeah.
one change. So
Yeah, I mean, there was it's a lot of times where you just kind of, there was a lot of times where we didn't have a studio. And so we were like, okay, number one, we don't know what we're going to talk about. Number two, we need to film a podcast today. Number
Yeah.
three, we don't know where we're going to film a podcast. And so
Yeah.
that resulted
Yeah.
in
There were
some
times I wanted to pull my hair out.
Oh,
dude.
absolutely. Absolutely.
wild
Post production.
combination. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach went through some crazy stuff.
well, and that's the thing though, is doing it like that, doing it as young as you guys are too. Because again, I don't think podcasts are going anywhere anytime soon.
Oh, definitely
Aside
not.
from
Definitely not.
I mean, again, like it decides elections. Like,
Very true.
it really does.
Yeah.
Like being on a pod and being open to have a conversation is now the deciding factor between winning and losing, right?
It really is.
Yeah, dude.
Like the
It really is.
and but that's like big scale and then small scale. It's like the amount of people we were just talking about it off camera. It was people can't even answer their door for DoorDash. Like again, I've been saying this all week, but it's like that little like mechanical cat toy, like piggy bank,
Yeah.
and they put the little coin on, and then like the little cat pops out and like grabs the coin and slides back in. That's like 99% of people out there
yeah.
because they're just like, give me the thing. I'm like, peek, get the thing, close the door. And, like that's it. That's like the amount of interaction that they have, and then everything else is on your phone.
Yeah.
Like everything else is on this little rectangle.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna be the guy talking on the rectangle and like speaking at you rather than the person like receiving it, right?
And then in that too, you also have this thing of like, we were talking about this as well, of production quality. You have this spectrum where it's like super well produced, but it's like very scripted, and then you have, you know, the in-betweens, and you have super just raw, unfiltered, unedited type stuff. And I think we're finding now that the more authentic you come across, the better.
Oh yeah.
And versus like a few years ago, you had to have a professional setup.
Oh,
You had to have the audio dialed in. You had to have the camera dialed in, color grading, everything. You know, set design had to be to a T,
oh,
right?
yeah.
Pretty much. And then now it's like, you know, Theo Vaughn talking about cocaine and owls with a president is like what people want to see.
Oh, like legitimately, yes. And again, it's just taught that you want to have candid conversations with people. I think all the time. Like I think that's a baseline for humans is
Yeah.
social interaction is good,
Mhm.
right? You
Yeah.
want to be able to connect with people. Ideally, you're not some like Neanderthal just walking around like scaring everybody off. Like ideally, you're part of this function, this big, you know, society that we have. Like
Yeah.
duh. But so many people are scared to take that first like initial step forward. Like they want to receive, right? They want to receive like attention or validation or whatever, or the thing, the product, like immediately. But they're not willing to take that first little like step risk, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like they're not willing to put themselves out there versus, you know, again, if you put in 1% effort, you beat everybody that's doing 0% effort.
Yeah.
Like everybody doing nothing, I've already beaten you in doing just anything. Again, you could do it for 30 weeks, you could do it for 80 weeks in a row. Doing it 3 weeks in a row is better than 99% of the podcasters out there. Like how many there's some stat out there that's like they don't make it past episode 20.
Yeah, I think it's
Right,
you
as a
make it past
barrier.
episode 20 or 25. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you're in the top whatever percentage.
And again,
Yeah, which is
people
wild.
spend money on professional, like executive produced,
yeah,
production level podcasts, do 10 of them and then
Yeah.
quit.
dude, 100%.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's
100%.
nuts
It
that
is
you would
crazy.
commit something physical like that. I mean, again, you
And
some people spend 120,000 or whatever the number was to build one set and then talk for 45 minutes. That's gnarly.
Yeah.
and we've always just stuck to two main things of like, we're gonna get an episode out, no matter what.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna talk about what we're interested in, and we're gonna talk to two people that we're interested in. If they have a following, great. If not, cool.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna talk to people that we're interested in, and eventually the audience will show up.
Well,
Yeah.
and again, the amount of things that you talk about, there's overlay in that too.
Mhm.
Like eventually you'll hit on somebody that says something so popular or so entertaining that it pops off, right? Like
Yeah,
whether
very
that's
true.
episode 2, whether that's episode 50, whether it's already been like said
Yeah.
or to
Yeah.
be said. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we're rocking and rolling. We're just talking. And like
Yeah.
eventually there's a gem in there, right? Like
Yeah.
eventually you say a funny joke. Eventually something happens. Like the whole point is that you keep swinging. Like it is the adage, shoot or shoot. Like you just
Yeah.
gotta shoot a million times. Who cares? It's practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even when you shoot in a game, that's also still practice because you're
Yeah.
in the heat of the moment.
Yeah. I think our generations are really afraid to suck.
Yeah,
Really
well,
afraid
we've
to
been
suck.
told don't suck ever under any condition, when in reality, failure isn't sucking. Failure just isn't hitting it yet.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a big
100%.
comma yet on
Mhm.
so much stuff.
Yeah.
And you just like forget that end of the sentence. It's like
Yeah.
you just put a period there. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
dang it.
So true.
You stopped right before it was getting good. Like you
Mhm.
literally like, I don't know, you just knocked yourself out of the race.
Yeah, it's that old. What's the old adage of like? It's the miner who stopped digging after 20 years, 3 feet away from
Oh, yeah.
gold. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
next person
Yeah.
came through and dug 3 feet and hit gold. Like it's
Exactly.
the only way to really fail and sure your failures if you just quit. And so,
Oh yeah. Well, and
you know,
like the other part is not learning from what you did wrong. Like again, we
Mhm.
were talking about it. It's like everything under the sun technologically or like, you know, batteries die and like chargers break it like right as you need them. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, well, I have a problem and either you solve it or you don't solve it, right? Like you either get to do the thing you wanted to do or it all falls apart. It's like you kind of figure out how to make things work if if the other option is like it all burns down. Like, you
Yeah.
know, it is kind of that burn the boats mentality, but it's like kind of rings true if it's like you have no other option than to survive. So like
let's just go through every ambitious cliche on the
I think we
internet
should.
right now. Burn the
I-
boats.
I think we
Only
need
way
it though.
only way
I
to
don't
quit
know.
is
I
if you
think
fail. Let's just keep going. Let's get them all out.
who's
in
going to carry the
open.
boats? But the boats are burned, so who's going to carry the burned boats?
and the logs? You carry the
Yeah.
logs from the burned boats.
Yeah, but do you carry the logs to the burned boats, or do you make the logs out of burned boat.
I think you're
There's
supposed
so
to.
many boats. Learn how to
supposed
swim.
to float on the logs, but then you're not carrying them, so it's this whole
True.
thing. It's this whole thing.
Then you're playing like a leapfrog game, and then you're getting into it, and then you're
But-
mining.
The thing that you've been interested in digging into lately is crypto.
Absolutely.
Right.
Speaking of mining,
Look
speaking of
Look
mining,
at that.
at
Yeah.
that.
I don't know. I'll take you through like my progression, I guess, of if you guys want to hear it,
Of course.
of getting into cryptocurrency, understanding even what it like means at its base level, and then
What inspired you to get into it?
a couple of things. So I've always been like a tech dude. I played on like the old school like highlighter, purple, yellow, green, like Macintosh backs, like you know those ones.
Yeah.
Like that was my first computer. I played like Power Pete on it and like other weird just tech stuff. And then I was in Gifted and Talented, like the Bush program.
Yeah.
It was Quest, so it was just like super kids, I guess. It did not feel super.
Yeah.
They just move you out of a class and then they make you do independent projects. So you're like doing a proposal
Mhm.
like every year, basically.
Mhm.
So you get really good at that. Like it's good for podcasting, good for talking, I guess.
Yeah.
But all that to say, most of my stuff was like technology based or creating some sort of like invention or curiosity of, you know, where we're headed in the future, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And all that led into always being somewhat curious about what's happening, like from a tech standpoint. So AI is obviously huge and
Yeah.
everybody's talking about it. And I
Yeah.
couldn't speak to any, like I was completely illiterate in terms of what like digital currencies looked like, what it was.
Yeah.
So I was dumb, and then I was talking about it to people and going, "Oh my god, I'm out of my depth." The moment we get 10 minutes past, like,
Dude,
"Well,
that's like-
Bitcoin's cool.
yeah.
Look at the price today." I'm like,
That's how I feel 90% of the time.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like completely unaware of really like what a new monetary policy is, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
which is a big word, like, or
That's
a big phrase.
electronic.
Right?
It's like,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because you're not touching it, but it's also as real as like a regular fiat currency would. So
Yeah.
like American dollars, if you pulled up your whatever banking app you have, those dollars are technically digital right now. Like you couldn't go to your bank and pull out those exact same dollars.
right.
Like, and that's a monetary policy. It's like some sort of fungibility that occurs on the fiat side. So like paper money,
Mhm.
like those are all bank notes.
Right.
And they just don't have enough physical banknotes to disperse it out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to turn towards a digital placement of currency.
Mhm.
So when you like Venmo somebody, you're sending digital money from one spot to another.
Right.
All Bitcoin or whatever an alt currency or altcoin might be, like the meme coins that are out there, like by the thousands,
Mm-hmm.
all those are just different, like basically a different currency
Yeah.
that you're just moving in the background. So like there's layers of like communication, but it's all money to money, if that makes any sense. So banks communicate using digital currency. And if they're using it, it means that they value it, which means you could buy it and hold it as an asset.
Mm-hmm.
So it enables you to almost act like a bank, but hold an asset that's not going to depreciate based on like inflation or based on any of these like typical monetary policies that we're seeing now. Like food's going up, for
Mhm.
example, like food prices are going up. It's ridiculously
Yeah.
expensive. Like
Yeah.
a hamburger from Top Notch was $19.
Dang.
Like Top Notch is like the most basic spot that nobody would know about. Like there's one in Austin, right? Like there's
Yeah.
one Top Notch. It used to be $10 or like whatever, and now it's literally doubled. It's
Yeah.
insane. So to combat that, you need to hold assets. Us, you, me, everybody that's in their 30s or younger, we don't have houses. Like the housing market
Right.
has kind of screwed us on that, and
Yeah.
like we don't have things to borrow against.
Mm.
And in actuality, a lot of us are probably holding on to like student debt or loans that we didn't really like necessarily want to have, right?
Mhm.
Like ideally you want to pay for school and not have to owe things.
Sure.
Now you owe some
Yeah.
money, whatever that dollar amount might be, but that's holding you back from a credit standpoint or,
Uh-huh.
or depending on the loan or anything like that, you're operating at a super deficit than somebody who has like a house, like a single house, because they're allowed to pull out loans and do things that typical banking allows you to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
What cryptocurrencies and what blockchain technology allows you to do is own an asset like you would gold or silver or precious metal or a house, because there's analogies to real estate, what it does is it allows you to house your money with actual growth rather than some inflationary product that, like, in a simpler way, your dollars are losing value every year, even if it's by a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you own less value in dollars than you did before.
Right.
Still the same amount of dollars. You didn't spend any.
Mhm.
You have $100, but that means less to the world.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, why don't I put that money into something that every year gains more than 12%, more than the S&P 500, more than all these like Fortune 500 companies that you're banking on to try and move the needle on a value that's already going to lose.
Right.
The government, the Fed, even though the Fed is a company, but like they're contracted to the government. The Fed's telling you, hey, inflation's going to happen. Like, you're gonna lose value. It's like, okay, well, now I need to get way more money
Mhm.
to offset that.
Right.
Or you have to park it in an asset that grows. Those are like your two options, right? So what cryptocurrency allows you to do is really just, kind of bet on something that's going to grow rather than something that's going to fall. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, for
Does
sure.
that track at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think,
Because I spit a bunch out at you.
yeah, I feel like when it comes to cryptocurrency versus, say, like a US dollar,
Yeah.
people are afraid of it because in their minds, the US dollar has some kind of backing like gold or
Right.
whatever. But I think realistically,
But
we're
it
way
doesn't-
beyond that. Like, we're way beyond gold actually backing the amount of dollars that have been printed.
Well, we don't even back it with dollars, or we don't even back dollars with gold anymore. We don't back them with silver. We've been taken off
Right.
of,
So what are they backed with?
it's technically the thing that they have backed on is our bad debt to other countries. Like the fact that other countries hold so much debt against us in dollars. It's just
Really?
the
I didn't
current,
even know that. Yeah.
it's just the current economic policy is like, yeah, well, if the dollar tanks, then we don't own China. We don't owe China any money because our money is useless.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a huge fear. And what I'm saying is not take all of your dollars, take every single dollar, put your house up. I'm not one of those guys. Like, I'm not a maximalist at all. I
Mhm.
think you should keep your day job, and I think you should keep just like the government should, keep a reserve asset, which is, hey, I've got an emergency fund of $1,000, $2,000, whatever you dictate as an emergency, but it's in an asset. Again, like for me, I'm an advocate for just Bitcoin. I think if you're starting out, go to the first one. I mean, go to the OG, just Bitcoin. It's very safe. All you do is dollar cost average. So put $5 in every week, and you just build a balance. It's super simple, and then you don't touch it. You just use the money that you'd never touch. Again, it's kind of that like what all the old dudes that are like, oh, don't spend money on Starbucks. It's like, buy the Starbucks and then take that $5. You spend $5 on Starbucks, and then you take $5 of your own money and you just squirrel that away,
Mhm.
and you just
Yeah.
wait a year, and that balance will absolutely go up.
Yeah.
And again, it's historically it's gone up 60% on average every year for the last like 4 years, which
Yeah.
is way better than any investment you could ever make.
Yeah.
But like you were saying earlier, it's pretty volatile, which holds a lot of people back.
Yeah, well, and again, that's to say, like, this is your money. So like everybody that I would ever advise on doing any sort of cryptocurrency, understand that it is you're betting on it just like you'd be betting on gold or silver. Like, if for some reason gold just depreciated significantly, like people just were like, nah, we don't want that anymore. Everybody holding gold would suddenly have a lot of gold and not a lot of trading ability or trading power
Yeah.
in terms of liquidity. But again, if you put 10% of your money here, 10% of your money here, and you spread it out across 10 things, 11
Right.
things, that's what every old dude that I've ever talked to is diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
Like, okay, first of all, is it a portfolio? Because I have a manila folder with 2 certificates in it and like Chuck E. Cheese money. Like, I don't have a portfolio,
Yeah.
but what I do have is like $7.
Yeah.
So where do I put that $7? It's like,
Yeah.
you can break it up and you're more likely to succeed when you split it out 7 ways.
Yeah.
Just
for
because
sure.
you're taking a chance on 7 different things that could hit versus I'm backing this one thing.
Yeah.
And again, it's a hedge. It's really just a
Mhm.
hedge against anything that could happen. And the good news is you can always trade it out for any currency.
Right.
So if you hold Bitcoin, you can go to France, you can go to like England, and you can transfer that into euros if you so choose. You
Mhm.
can't do that again the old school way, the way that like I'm sure all three of our great grandparents, for sure ours, like they sewed gold into their like clothing and moved it, and they like you can't physically move your net worth anymore. It has to be digital. So
Yeah.
you might as well back it in something that you can always put into and take out whatever denomination. So holy moly, I need pesos. Look, I've got a thing that transfers into pesos. Versus, oh, they don't like those dollars here. Like, I can't transfer dollars to pay. Like in a
Yeah,
scenario where
right.
fiat doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, cool, I have Bitcoin. It's now my safety net. It's
Mhm.
not my ultimate, but it's like it's my safety net just in case I need $100.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I can pull it out and oh no, that's 30% on. Like I know the tax rate. I know that it's going to be 30% maximum
Mhm.
until
Yeah.
the SEC changes it. But as it stands now, it's short-term gains is 30% on capital gains.
Yeah.
So like at least I know. At least I know what I'm being taxed on.
yeah.
Versus some ambiguous thing that like I send a TurboTax and then all of a sudden it spits out what I might owe, and
Yeah.
then the IRS will send me an additional bill on what I actually owe. Had that happen before for sure.
That's
Where
not-
TurboTax was like, experts are talking about it. It's like, no, you're not. You're sending me a bill and charging me $120, and then I'm getting another bill on top of that because you miscalculated because the government hasn't passed an audit forever.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is not my problem. I'm just supposed to send money to somebody.
So to someone who doesn't like know about all the different coins,
Sure.
why is Bitcoin one of the safer ones to do
One of-
versus
In comparison to like other altcoins or anything else. Um,
what is an altcoin?
So an altcoin is really defined as anything that's not Bitcoin.
Mm.
So even Ethereum would be. So if you know nothing about cryptocurrency, let's just
Yeah.
start from 0.00000. There are a couple of main coins. I think the two to highlight would be Bitcoin and Ethereum, just because they're different in process, and it's really just Bitcoin is proof of stake, or proof of work rather, POW, which means somebody's calculated a formula and solved to create a block within the blockchain, which then produces a certain amount of Bitcoins. So it's like a reward. Somebody mines it, they dig, they find that chunk of gold. That gold equals X, Y, or Z thing, X, Y, or Z amount, and it's halving, so there's less produced each year.
So like when you're saying dig,
Yeah,
like
It's pro-
they're doing equations.
Yeah, so-
basically. That's
so-
like their version of digging.
yeah. Even
Okay.
even base layer on that. The way that you would produce coins is all through computing power. So if you have a computer that can process all these high functioning calculations, because at the end of the day, AI, just for everybody, is calculations. It's like a logic program. So it's literally an equation of like if then, or
Yeah,
a
okay.
series of queries and parameters like search countries, search capitals of said countries, and then it's like a narrowing down. So it's
Yeah.
it's just an advanced, just like super advanced search.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking of you're thinking of a solution, right? Like, what color is Joseph's shirt? It's like blue or gold, depending on what the viral shirt. It
Dang.
looks exactly like it. It's
It
wild.
does.
It does.
So,
Holy crap.
I hate that I brought that
that's
back
a throwback. That's like 2016.
Holy crap.
up.
That's crazy.
Blue and yellow, and then black and something, right?
Black and
Whatever.
gold, I think.
Yeah, black
Doesn't
and
matter.
gold, yeah.
Totally derailed.
Yeah.
But
Or-
like, there's a solution there, right?
I don't know. Yeah.
Like I'm querying, like a query is just a question. So when you're
Yeah.
typing into AI, you're just saying, hey, like, what color is Joseph's shirt? And then it would go and search through all the history of whatever on the internet and go, oh, turns out based on these parameters, it's blue.
Mhm.
Or they just took a picture and they look at it and it's blue. But all of that is computing power, and they can utilize that just like you'd solve an equation on a calculator, how to solve for a solution that produces a block within the blockchain. And all the blockchain is a verification process that says you did this, it delivered this.
Mhm.
So it's really like input, output. And it creates a block when you go input, you did, and received this block connected. The result of that for doing that work, for like producing that block, the guy who solved it gets a reward.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have the sickest computer possible that can do, as fast computing as possible and really difficult equations and simplify things down and reduce it. You want to have a computer with really good computing power if you want to mine for crypto, because you're just doing really hard math over and over and over and over again until you get the solution right. And then you get rewarded in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that people produce, and like that's how they create Bitcoin. And the reason why I would advocate for Bitcoin specifically is the finality of quantity. There's only ever going to be 21 million. After
Oh, I
the
forgot
21
about that.
millionth coin gets produced, it's done. You will not mine anymore. The well has
Interesting.
dried up. Everybody that has a coin keeps it, or a fraction of a coin. That's all there is. Like, it will run out. So like there's that, like little grains of sand in an hourglass. Eventually it's going to go ding, 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 ding. Last one. And then mining is going to be obsolete for Bitcoin entirely. You cannot mine it because it's not going to be there.
So why 21 million? Like, what is the?
It's just an arbitrary number. The math calculates out to, it's just good math of, if we want to produce 21 million, it'll take this amount of years. If we half the amount that each reward is given, so like it started out you'd get paid like 53 Bitcoins per like calculation, some absurd number. So like dudes are racking them up because they see the potential.
Yeah.
It's only worth 10 cents or $1 or whatever at the time, and then $100 or $1,000, and then it starts ramping up. But as those halvings go on, which we just saw recently, that's why it jumped from 60,000 to 90 right before the election. Like that was because a halving occurred. So you're going to get less coins, which means it's a milestone. People are just saying, hey, there's only this many left. And there's 19,000 or 19 million right now
Holy
confirmed.
crap.
So there's only 3 million left. So
So if someone goes and gets like a computer that's able to process all these equations, and then they end up mining and they're rewarded a single Bitcoin. That single Bitcoin right now is worth $100,000, basically.
91,000.
Or 91. Okay,
Yeah.
wherever it's at. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
basically,
crazy.
yeah, you can buy a Porsche with it, like
Yeah.
equivalency.
Yeah.
Like you can buy a pretty nice Porsche with it, and the price fluctuates. Like we saw it go all the way up to
Right, yeah.
108,000 this year. I would anticipate that something's going to happen around the 20th, because the SEC, the ruling body over Securities and Exchange Commission, they're going to dictate whether or not crypto is a security, a commodity, what it's defined as by the government, and subsequently how it's going to be taxed. So tax law could change. Obviously, Trump is pro Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah.
I think the guy that he's going to appoint to SEC chair, or he's going to nominate for SEC chair, I think that guy's super pro Bitcoin. And then the other indicator is, once big banks start to buy it as an asset class, like once they say, oh, we want houses, we want to own a lot of houses in terms of real estate and in terms of like the value, we own these many properties and it costs this much, like they're valued at this much, they can then loan out based on how much money they have. So if big banks are buying it, and if all these like giant corporations are buying it and they're holding it as a reserve asset, it's probably a good idea for individuals to own it. Because again, if there's only if there's only 21 million and you happen to have one, you're one of 21 million. And even
yeah,
then,
very true. Yeah.
there's 3 million of them frozen. There's some of like 2 or 3 of them that are stuck in governments, like they've seized them on wallets or something like that. So the number's even smaller than that, like 19 or 18 million. That's technically not that much in terms of money, but the value of that, like, I mean, it's estimated to max out at like 13 million conservatively. So it's like $13 million little digital thingy that I hold in a wallet that I can move anywhere I want in the world. Seems way cooler than me losing money every year. Like just like, and again, that's me saying I want an American job and I want to have American dollars. Like I'm super down for it.
Yeah.
I love America. However, if we don't stop spending all of our money, we will have no money left. I mean, eventually it'll run to somebody else and it'll circulate wherever, but it doesn't seem to be circulating here.
I think what you framed earlier is really important too, especially for our generations, where it's like our parents, it was like buy a house.
Yeah.
Because that's what's stable, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now the reality shifted to where probably not going to buy a house till you're like 40.
Yeah.
Maybe, or ever. And just
Well,
depends. Like we just don't know what's going to happen. And so we're having to scramble and figure out, we just went through a pretty high inflationary last few years. And
Yeah.
thankfully it's
absolutely.
balanced out a little bit, but I think people have looked at this obviously for a long time with skepticism. And I think finally it's kind of turned to the
Yeah.
point of like legitimacy.
Yeah, for sure.
And our generation is finally like, oh wait, there's a coin that can't be corrupted by the government so far, and it's not really regulated super well, but this could be a good time to get in. And I could potentially, now you're seeing those little ATMs pop up everywhere where you can buy
1,000%.
Bitcoin from an ATM. And
Yeah.
now you can send it in Cash App. Now you can do this. Now you can, and all of a sudden it's being legitimized for we're like, okay, well, why wouldn't we, like, it's something we can all band together on that can't
Yeah.
be necessarily touched by
Exactly.
a regulatory body yet.
Well, and it's just really kind of like a hands-off approach to money, right?
Mhm.
Like the idea. So there's another phrase, decentralized finance,
Yeah.
which means no central entity owns the ability to transfer money back and forth. Like if you had cash, like 20 years ago, if you had $20 and you wanted to just literally hand it to somebody, you could just take it out of your wallet and hand it to them. The government's not involved in that. It is a cash transaction, 1,000% legal, but there's no need for a government entity to have control over what you do with your cash on a personal, like peer-to-peer transaction. Because peer-to-peer, it implies it's my guy and me, and we're or like it's peer-to-peer, not peer government peer, and
Right.
not peer bank peer, or peer bank government check back to bank peer.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
again, like Kanye West is a perfect example of getting debanked.
Yeah.
Like you say something that somebody doesn't like, again, not advocating for it, but you pop off and say something that somebody doesn't like, and they have the power to take all of your money away.
Yeah.
Again, you may be right or wrong in your statement. You may like whatever, like you can say the most outlandish thing. Just because you don't like that person doesn't mean you're allowed to take all of their stuff.
Yeah.
You can't go, didn't like what you said, mine. Like, that's nuts. That's like me taking your shoes right now because you said something that I didn't like.
I mean, well, the
That's
sad
nuts.
reality is that they can
Right.
do that. They can just do that.
But that's the thing is
So-
it does allow you, the Bitcoin or holding, some sort of crypto balance, it does allow you, if you take the right steps and precautions, you can entirely house it independent of any bank's touch.
Yeah. Mhm.
Like the ability to reroute it, again, to have it decentralized is an advantage, and it looks weird to somebody who's got a traditional banking mindset, right?
Mhm.
That says, oh, I got to build up my credit, I got to do all this stuff, I got to like wait 20 years, and I finally have enough money for a down payment, but that down payment's estimated on what I thought 20 years ago. Turns out the housing market exploded. Now I have no money, like my down payment's a tenth of what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Now you're entirely priced out. Like again, Joseph, that statement that you said of may never get a house. That's an insane statement to me.
It is
Like,
an insane
The
statement.
idea that there's a possibility that I can't buy a house when my parents, like my mom bought a truck for $600 in 1990. A fully functioning new truck. 2-door. For $600.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's insane. And again, like the we need opportunities. Young people need opportunities to succeed
Right.
because
Yeah.
unfortunately, all of the boomers, eventually, every single one of them will die. That's a reality.
Yeah.
And
Just
they're
like
all
everybody
retiring
else.
right now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they're going to need help with a lot of things. I'd like to be not so destitute that I can help I can give back to my parents. I
Right.
can give back to people in
Yeah,
my
for
community.
sure.
Because it's so detrimental. I mean, like, I'm sure we've all been there. I've been there multiple times in my life where it's like, oh my God, there's a bill coming up. I have no clue. Right now, 0 clue how to pay this thing.
Yeah, dude.
It's way too much money and I have way too little. Like,
Yeah.
the scale is off somehow where you're like freaking out, like temper tantrum, full on like thunder fit. Like you are done. Like there's no way you're going to do this. And like, hopefully you get out of it. if you're smart enough to do it. But that shouldn't be a reality for everybody now. Again, the world is too nice now. We've built it up to be too nice to, like, for people to be without, right? Or to people, it's America. What are we doing? I'm gonna turn into Biden. I'm gonna start whispering and going, "Come on!" Like, but it's insane that in America in 2025, young people are continually concerned with how they're gonna pay their next bill, instead of how am I going to enrich America? How am I gonna enrich this life? Like, optimism is at like an all-time low. Like, people hate
really
it.
is a weird time.
Yeah, people hate it.
Yeah.
People hate you for no reason. People hate things for no reason. It is like drama, and like beheadings on Instagram Reels kind of thing of like, we're in such an intense time, but there's some way out of it. And it's kind of radical. We talked about this last time. It's radical optimism. And then it's also like new systems are going to have to be made. Like, it's just clear. And it's not a bad thing. It's just to say, we need to kind of clear house and just go like, next guy's up. Like, great try, everybody. Great try. Boomers, you guys did amazing. I think what they did in the 80s and the 90s for economic growth, and then again on the like other side of like the 2000s and the internet age, like, way to go setting us up to do something phenomenal and set up like the toys that we need, or the tools that we need rather, and making it like really interesting for us. Technology's awesome. It's all great. Now hand us the keys. Like, let's drive. You taught us how to drive. I'm ready to go. Like, and I'd like to drive you. And I'll be safe while we drive. Once you get out of the car, I may drift it around. I may pop it. Like, let's go. Because I know what I'm doing, right? Like, it's that, like, your parents are always scared for you when you jump, but you know that you have to jump, right? Like, it's in you to like, take a leap or play that sport or do the thing that, like, they're not necessarily, like, mega down for themselves. But it's like, my parents taught me to be really independent and like a self-starter and try all these new things, and they've been like radically supportive, like unbelievably supportive. But I like, not that many people have that. So we got to kind of like mommy and daddy it, and like, we got to be optimistic. We have to have a good heading, because walking into a situation and going, I don't like it, or all the things that could go wrong, and like pitter-pattering around like we don't know what we're doing. It's like, no, we're good. We don't need to be babied anymore. We're adults now. And like, let's do the adult thing. Like, let's buck up. Let's call the doctor. Let's dial the phone number and call the doctor. It's not that scary. And we're really close to that happening. We're really close to people just being like, oh my God, I have control. And we can do this, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
the part, is like, it's going to be fun.
Do you remember when I mentioned to you the Fourth Turning book a while ago?
Dude, that's been I've heard that. I've heard the Fourth Turning 4 times today.
Oh,
Okay,
wait,
just
what?
go buy it. I think I have it.
so
I have it. I just haven't read it.
There's one of the co-authors just released a new book called The Fourth Turning is Here.
Let's go.
And I can't like explain everything, but
So in.
basically, like, there's a principle that I was reading about in it that I thought you'd find really interesting, like with your background too. And it's about necessity. And I think what you're talking about is the fact that our generation, we don't have a World War II right now. We don't have a World War I. And it was talking about how in sociology and in social experiments, what they find is a lack of necessity is way worse for people. A lack of purpose is way worse for people, especially men, than suffering.
Oh, yeah.
And they talked about how, I think the LA fires are like right now a really good example of that's an extreme event of suffering that's happening right now. The hurricane in North Carolina was a great example where you saw people rallying incredibly around that community. And I'm sure we're seeing the same things right now with the LA fires. But it brought up a good point of like our generation, we get pooped on a lot, but I think it's because we've never had that moment of, hey, it's up to you. Hey, you're going to have to answer the call, whether it's a war, whether it's a depression of some sort. Like, we haven't really had, besides maybe COVID, but that was kind of weird. Like, there wasn't really anything we could do. And so I think there's going to be a moment, well, the book predicts that there's going to be a moment coming in about 2028, 2033 is their timeline, of the climax of the fourth turning.
Mm.
And that is historically back. If he walks you back through about 80 to 100 year cyclums of these cycles,
Yeah.
1 through 4, and it's always been some kind of big tragic event, like the Civil War, Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II. But every time that happens, like you just mentioned, it really sucks, but it catalyzes change, because the pain of that event has to be so great that we actually do the immense amount of work it takes to create new systems and to get those people out and new people in. And I think that we're very, very, very primed for one of those.
I could not agree more. And I think the other thing that's, again, I like to think we're different. I like to think that, the millennials and the Gen Z kids, because I'm 94 and 96 is the cutoff.
Mhm.
So I'm like a very late millennial. Like I'm a super young millennial.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then it bleeds into like way mega old. Like I'm the Moses of Gen Z kids.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm 600 years old.
There's a term
We're
for that.
like zillennials, is
Yeah,
that what it is?
yeah. So
called
I'm
zillennial.
I've always
Yeah.
been, and that's a hallmark of a lot of things. I think there's a lot of overlap. Like there's a lot of mesh. I mean, like Theo Von makes the joke of like everybody's beige. Like it's kind of like we're all meshing. Like
Yeah.
it's a mixing pot. That's what America is. It always has been. And whether like literally we went to wars whether or not it was a mixing pot or not, which is insane. It's like it continues to provide opportunity, right?
Mhm.
And it's going, hey, there's an opportunity. It doesn't look like the one before it. It doesn't look like that because that wasn't our opportunity. Like you everybody knows, like when you have your shot, you take your shot, right? Again, making more analogies, but like if you've done anything clutch in your life ever, whether that's playing like beer pong and you sink a cup, or you're playing water pong and you sink a cup, and you do whatever, like you make a shot or you make the tackle or you do like you read the right line or you make it to your podcast on time. Literally, like any of those things where like you showed up when you needed to show up, things go right. And all we need to do is kind of, like you said, just show up for whatever that thing is. Like, I don't know, I was thinking about this earlier and it's a wild thing to say, but it's like, it would be crazy interesting to see a draft. Like if it happened, to see a draft, and it's because it's a true test. It's a really true test. And again, I don't want to draft because I'd have to go. I'd have to go. But and I'm just not down with like having to kill people. But like you feel that duty or whatever to do.
Yeah.
And then we'd kind of see a resilience. Again, like I do not wishing that, but you kind of need that kind of test of faith, right? Like that ultimate act.
Yeah.
And really, it's kind of like we just haven't, like the curtains haven't opened yet.
Exactly.
There's a show, and we don't know what it is.
Everyone feels the pot being stirred hard.
Well,
Yeah.
and the thing is, everybody, like again, that argument that millennials or Gen Z kids haven't been through enough stuff to justify us being annoyed is a ludicrous statement, because we've been through 9/11 and then a war that we probably shouldn't have been in, turns out. Syria is also not a war we should have been in. So we could go through the laundry list of lies and betrayals based on the idea that people ahead of us had the right idea and were working for us, not for themselves,
Yeah.
and just to literally cut a check
Yeah.
off of our goodwill,
Yeah.
right?
Right, yeah.
Like that's, and again, that's bipartisan. That is,
Yeah.
I'm blaming everybody.
Yeah.
Take everybody out, not like out to pasture. Goodbye.
Mhm.
Let's roll in somebody new. But again, you can't do that when the bulk of the population is 70 plus, and they're going to vote for the 70 plus person, whoever that might be.
Yeah.
And then they won't vote for a person that didn't talk to anybody. But
Yeah.
that's my biggest issue is like, go on podcasts. Everybody go on podcast. Everybody go on podcasts. What are we doing? Just talk. It's totally cool to talk and disagree with people and have conversations and work through stuff.
Yeah.
And you also don't have to record everything. Crazy concept.
Yeah.
I'm saying that on a
both.
podcast, but like,
It's both.
again, you should have candid conversations with people you don't like, because that's going to give you perspective you never had.
Yeah.
Like, talk to your enemy for real. You think somebody has bad intentions, you think somebody hates you, okay, they're probably not going to shoot you. Don't take that advice. Please don't get shot because of me. But like, again, if you have some disagreement, try and talk it out first, and come with it with compassion. Don't come at it like, hey, idiot, learn this thing. Learn this thing about me, and I'm going to demand that you understand me. It's like, you can't do that. And again, that all circles into cryptocurrency. It circles into podcasting. And again, we were talking about it backstage, but like off camera. Like it's showing up for the thing you said and being consistent, and really the truth will wash everything out. Like ultimately, that's what I've learned over the past like decade. Like the biggest truth is truth will set you free. Honesty, authenticity, good, bad, and otherwise. Like there's some things you can't change about yourself, and there's some things that like you probably wish you could change. And it's like you got to take the good, the bad. That's the whole like ego death stuff. That's what, you know, all the holistic guys, the ayahuasca trips, blah blah blah. Like that's what everybody's looking for, and really ultimately what it is taking it down, breathing, being like here, and then going, all right, here's the current situation, and what do I do? Like, what's my first step?
Right. Yeah.
Not solution, not get it done, not fix it, not do all the cool stuff. It's what's that first step? Because that first step's the hardest one. It's always the hardest one.
Yeah.
And we're just, you know, we're all collectively, to end the statement, like we're all just waiting in the wings, kind of ready to take that first step because we know the show's going. Like we've got to do something. We will be 50. We will be 60.
Yeah.
Like I'll be an old man, and I'd like to be an old man with ability and competency and a group of people around me that I know I trust.
And cool stories of stuff that we like, the trials we experienced, and perseverance, all the good stuff.
Live your life, dude.
Adventure.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's
as
crazy.
little regret as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that little regret doesn't have to be like climbing a mountain. I think that's what people don't understand. It's like, it doesn't have to be some great giant feat. It could be if that's what you need. But like, I don't know, there's some people that like can't get out of bed one day. They've been stuck in bed for 3 months, and they go to their job, they get back in their bed, and they rot, right? Like brain rot. That's a huge thing that people talk about.
Yeah.
Like that's like,
dude, that was
nuts.
declared the word of the year by,
not diluted.
by Harvard University.
Oh, beautiful.
Really?
Brain
I'm
rot.
so glad Harvard's
The word
doing,
of the year.
Harvard's
Isn't
doing
that crazy?
great work.
That is pretty insane. I've been using it quite frequently.
I mean, it's real though. Like it's very real.
the mind frame of like so perfectly.
Well, and that's how you feel
it's-
when you've spent too much time on any kind of media.
yeah,
you're melted.
Yeah,
You're
you
straight up
feel
melted.
like a
You,
zombie.
you watch like you feel the IQ points leave your body.
Oh yeah.
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 It's nuts. It's nuts. But again, like we're seeing that like in a lot of different ways. Like again, I think it's awesome that social media is here. I think it's a very influential thing. I think the ability to reach people, like TikTok is a great example of like making reach accessible for like regular people.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't Instagram, it wasn't YouTube. You didn't need a following. You could go viral because somebody just flipped to you and double tapped, and like that's it. But then you get into these social media companies having massive influence over how we do things in a society. Like social media is a facet. It's a tool just like anything else you'd use, and some people take that tool and make it their life. Like whatever that might be. And we're seeing that again, kind of move it back into like the societal part. We're spending so much time communicating via app and via like not really peer to peer.
Right.
And we have to manufacture a way to monetize a conversation, right? Like ultimately, and again, that's no knock on podcasts. That's like now you have to make money off of the conversations you have with your friends because there's no other option, because we don't have time if we're not making money to talk. That sounds weird. That's dystopian to me. Like, again, I'd love to make money off of being, you know, in front of a camera. Who wouldn't? That's the easiest job in the world, is sit and talk. Like, it's easy. But like, I don't know. I think people get lost in that. And again, it's consistency. It's people wanting to be viral and pop off. And, but I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with that. So it's just kind
I have
of
a question.
But
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like the biggest appeal to podcasts right now is the fact that because there is so much I guess, fake content out there and so much. Like everyone
Absolutely.
is trying to put on an image. The podcast is really the only thing where you get to see somebody sit for an hour or 2 or 3
Right.
and have a real, genuine conversation. It's like the only time you get to watch someone be their true selves.
Right.
I mean, in a certain sense, like
Sure.
obviously in front of a camera, like you can only be your true self to a certain extent.
Right.
But it's
but-
way more than just like a 30-second snip of somebody
Yeah.
or
absolutely.
a video of somebody, you know.
Well, and that's what this last election
So-
showed too. Was just
Exactly,
you know, like again,
exactly.
you can't snippet your way to an election. Like it just doesn't work like that.
Right.
You can't soundbite.
Yeah, not anymore at least.
Well, yeah. I mean, Trump did it to perfection in
Yeah,
2016. Like
yeah.
he was the master of one sentence. I'm going to destroy you. That was his entire
Yeah,
campaign.
yeah.
Yeah, true.
And from a PR perspective, it's like, okay, people really wanted a bully. They
Yeah.
just wanted somebody to like beat up whoever was hurting them, right?
Yeah.
Like you want that older brother mentality of like, I'm gonna go get him. I don't care. I don't care about going to jail.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
wailing on the dude. And then it turns around and you're like, okay, we need, old school grandpa guy. And it's like, that didn't work at all.
Yeah.
Yikes. Turns out an old man is not the right thing to do. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Politics aside, I think they're all idiots. I think they're all dumb. But either way, it's fascinating how anti-social social media has made people. That's a cliche,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the like dating arena is terrible. That the dynamic of dating online seems like it should never have even been brought up. Like it just doesn't seem like a good
Yeah.
concept because it's going to make people feel terrible about themselves.
Yeah.
And then it's also going to
Yeah.
heighten your like narcissism basically.
Yeah.
Like not to I'm not a psychologist, but it's like, yeah, if you think you're like super hot, you're just not going to swipe on anybody at your level unless they're mega hot, right? Like your level elevates. You're putting yourself 2 marks above anybody that's grading you. And first of all, grading people on attractiveness is nuts. Like
It's
like
crazy. Yeah. It's teaching you all about the
using
wrong
math to
things.
go whether or not someone's hot is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, let's stop quantifying it. Let's start like, who's that person? You
Yeah.
want to have person to person, right? Like, again, it all tracks back to we're humans. Probably not going to get the best reality through a thing we record with, right? Like a
Mhm.
thing that we just document things with. This is our phones are all like big superpower notebook calculators.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a journal and a calculator, basically. And we just open it up to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. How do I find a wife? How does that work exactly?
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
program do I plug in? Like for
Mhm.
real, that's what people are trying to figure out.
Right.
They're trying to game the system.
Yeah.
It's a system. So you're gonna get like the Andrew Tates of the world who are just gonna be terrible online because they can be. Because
Mhm.
people will consume it.
Mhm.
And we've seen algorithmically, hate spreads way faster. It's like a wildfire.
Yeah.
Hate spreads way faster than the guys trying to put the fire out. All the firemen have
Yeah,
the
for
greatest
sure.
of intentions to put out this fire, but like that doesn't save the Palisades when you run out of water. Like for real, it doesn't. And you're fighting this like contagion of people are anonymous and they can just say whatever they want, or they're unabashed. So authenticity, just like taking a complete curve, and they're going, cool, somebody's recording me. I'm gonna say the worst thing I possibly can,
Yeah.
like just to get a rise.
Well, and that's our idea with just cafes. Like we've gone round and round about these things, and the thing we keep coming back to is just a really simple idea of one of the guests that we had close to you. Her name was Val, and she talked about that our generation doesn't have like a third place anymore.
Oh,
you used
yeah.
to be able to like it was home, work, and then you'd have a third place you'd go to have community, right? It was like
Absolutely.
church, bar, community center, like, there would be something, the theater, the movie, whatever, like you would go and you'd have community, but we don't really have that. It's become social media for us, but that's taken the depth of connection out, like you're mentioning.
Well, and the trick,
And
just to add one little thing in there, is it was also free.
yeah,
It didn't cost you an arm and a leg. Like
yeah,
it's not, there was no cover charge for community,
Mm.
right? And now there really is. Like there's an entry fee, whether that's your attention, your time, your clicks, your money,
yeah,
what your
Yeah,
gas,
that's very true. Yeah.
all of it. Like you could go to church because you could pack up with your family, you'd save money on gas because you'd all pile in on the station wagon. Again, this is like a 1950s reference, but like you
Yeah.
could do that and then you'd have community. Like, I talked to my dad about what he was doing when he was 30, because I was like, were you also confused and had no clue what was going on, and also were like, what? How? What? Ouch. And like, he goes, yeah, I did. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, but he could kind of just walk into wherever and like just sit down, and somebody would give him like a glass of water for free. It's like, I don't know that many, like, there are places that give you water for free still, but it's like, I don't know of any place that you can't just like walk in and sit. Like, you can't go to a McDonald's and sit down. You got to be doing something. You got to be ordering, or you're Uber eating or whatever. Like,
No one's just going
loiter.
there to hang out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we've changed third places into like anti-loiter establishments. It's like, I want to hang out. Like, just let me hang out. Like, let me be. And I think that's the issue too. We're just like, there's not a lot of people just being. That's very hippie, but like, how often do you just get to like shut off and like go sit at Zilker? Like, that's like, the guys that I know that do that make a bunch of money and they have their life figured out. And then they can afford themselves that leisure time of doing nothing. It's like, when I'm doing nothing, I'm doing something.
Okay, so you're hitting on something that's so important, which in this cafe idea, I've run into some people who are like, well, you know, in business, you got to have like your niche and like this, because we want so many things there.
Just start it.
And it's like, that we want a lot of things there because we realize, Zach, that like people like you want to go, they still want the commodities, but they don't want it, like they just want to be able to hang there.
Yeah.
Like they still
I
want
want
to
you to
be
kick
able
me
to
out.
go and enjoy, a sauna, or go enjoy a coffee, or something to eat, or a library book or something like, or Wi-Fi, right?
Well,
like
public libraries, great example. Like,
Yeah.
my mom used to take me every Tuesday with my brother to like Reading Rainbow or whatever, like the like free library. You'd go, you pay, okay, maybe you pay $5 for the library card, but like the renting out books and getting to learn and just being in a place that like is focused on go in there, get the thing, hang out, don't disturb other people, and go. Now, like, it's completely flipped. It's like, how can I go to this place that so many people are like reverent and calm and quiet? How can I go just disturb that for views? Like, the amount of prank shows and stuff that like
True.
the entire, like, it's the antithesis of being chill. It's like, if you go into the place where everybody's chill and you go be super not chill, look at how fast those dudes get not chill. Like, immediately they're not going to have a good time. Like, I don't know, you're just super yucking somebody's yum so hard. And it's like, some people really just want to hang out. Like, for real, that it's a godsend to chill for 10 minutes. Like,
it is, yeah.
your life is going on, like you've got tons of kids, or like your marriage is on the rocks, or whatever situation might occur. You might need to just sit at a place for 10 minutes without some YouTuber popping in your face and going like, like just at you. And you're like, ah. Maybe it's a little bit more focused in Austin, but it's like, or maybe I'm judging too hard, but it's like,
No, I know. What
we
you're
need
saying,
we need more spots where like it is casual, or there's some, I don't know, maybe there's just manners. Maybe that's what it is. It's like, I don't know. I always think of like when I think of like third places, or I think of like a community, like a coffee shop or something like that. I always envision like in my little mind palace, like it's similar chairs like the ones you guys are on, like couches and comfortable things that have room. Like, you guys can comfortably sit on that chair. It's not the ricketiest $4 printout crappy bar stool that every place has, that has a back for no reason because it doesn't even support you. It comes up to here. It's like, cool, you're supporting nothing. And then
everyone's
you just,
lower back is shot anyway.
yeah, and then you got to
so-
pay $11 for whatever weird thing you bought, and it's not even that good. And then, like, again, it's all made like airport stuff where you're like temporarily gonna sit there and have like a not as bad time as you did before. It's like, can we have a place where it's like a good time?
Yeah,
Like, decidedly
100%.
a good time. It's cheery. It's like pub culture. We don't have pub culture here. We don't have like down the street, you go do this, like you just get to go be a regular there. Like,
Yeah, very true.
you got to go run into like a dive bar and become an alcoholic to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
really,
you gotta go
truly.
get wasted.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's like, that's not my, like, I like to get down with my boys. I love to have a good time. However, my idea of like truly hanging out is not at a bar trying to drink as much as I can.
Mhm.
Like, and I know that's like some people, that's how they relax. More power to them. That's like not the majority of the population, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think people need to chill out. I think we've taken 15 years of people just like constantly just like at a screen this close. Like,
Yeah.
we all collectively need to be like, ooh, like just
Yeah.
But there's no
Turn it
place that
down
you
a
can go, like you're saying, where that is built for that.
right.
Like there needs to be a place that's built to help you disconnect
also-
like that.
I was gonna that keyed me up on something. There's also there's not a lot of places being designed to be like in that way, designed to be chill. Meaning, or chill's maybe not the right word, but everybody's designing these places to be rentable or to be customized. Like they're all just printing rectangles or cubes or whatever, and it's like, hey man, put any thought into like a curve or something that's not, hey, I'm only doing this to make money.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is to be filled, and it is a bigger storage unit, and the moment you don't pay your bill, we kick you out and we throw in the next guy.
Yeah.
And it could be a coffee shop, it could be the same coffee, exactly the same, rinse and repeat the guys, but like that sounds dumb. Like build a place that has, you know, some like heart, some spirit in it.
Has
that's
soul.
not just concrete floors. And not knocking this place, but like concrete floors, concrete ceiling, rebar. Done. It's like, dude, I would go to a Home Depot and hang out in there because I have more chance of building something than I
Dude.
do in anything else here socially. Like,
Don't get me
Yeah.
started on architecture, man.
it's just wild. It's just
Modern
boring.
architecture
It's
is
just
yeah, it's
boring.
soul sucking.
It's
Tucker
like-
Carlson talks a lot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does. Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
Well, it's like
It's,
it
it's
is
so
the-
true though.
It's the abandonment of like craftsmanship, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it is. There's no true.
and that's no
craftsman
knock
with-
on the guys who make it. Like the
Yeah.
people who are like putting up walls and like standing up structures, like those contractors and those workers that are doing it. Awesome. I think those guys, because those guys just follow directions. They're following a
Yeah.
a
Right.
big Lego set,
Yeah.
and guaranteed they make cooler shit at home.
Yeah.
They for sure. I've seen people take excess materials home and build cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not even what it's designed for. It's literally you're taking scraps and you're redoing cool stuff. It's like, I don't want to have to wait. I would love for that to be the inspiration. Then, wow, we built the next rectangle.
Yeah.
I think a really good example of this is Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership. Like
Yeah.
he's a comedian who took his profession and built a space exactly tailored for comedy.
Mhm.
And I've heard a lot of comedians talk about how it's literally perfect.
Yeah.
He built it so like everything that they hate going across the country doing comedy
Yep.
is not at that club.
Yep.
And it's created a really cool community or whatever.
It's literally it's building an oasis is
Yeah.
really what you're trying to do, which is
Yeah.
ultimately what you should do if you're like, if you get to the root of it, it's like, okay, if you're a mason, if you're an architect of some kind, you want to build something, you're an engineer, like part of the engineering process, and like this is my knock as a non-engineer. I just have like an engineering kind of like mindset, I guess. I just never followed it. I wasn't good at math, so it didn't work very well, like in my head. But like spatially it works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the amount of, and no knock on engineers. There's a lot of like very boring kind of stiff engineers out there, and I think it's efficient and it gets the job done. But there's like a severe lack of creativity in
Yeah.
mainstream, like maybe they're just not advocating for it. Is probably a better way to say it. Is the powers that be or whoever is instructing guys to build more boxes is just because they can calculate boxes better. The curvature would add cost, and they don't want to add cost. It's like the cost is what you're doing it for. Like you're doing it because it kind of takes something out of you, and you want to put something into the thing
Mhm.
because you want to care about it. That's why this has character. That's why you guys picked stuff you wanted.
Mhm.
You didn't just go buy new stuff. You didn't go buy like premier equipment or whatever. Like you're part of like making do is the cool part. Like that's the essence. That's why people come back. That's why you do it for 53 episodes like in a row, is because you're putting something into it.
Yeah.
That's why it matters.
Yeah.
When you don't put anything into it, you've made a project before. You've gone on group projects in school. You've done projects probably by yourself, and you're like, I know when I don't put my full effort in.
Hmm.
It's blatant. It's pretty clear, and most people are putting in like 2% effort.
Yeah.
They're not care. They don't care because the company doesn't care about them that they're working for, and then they don't get to go hang out at a third place, so they don't care where they get their coffee from. So they're just gonna go run and get the fastest thing that does the thing that they want. They don't. There's no flair. There's no extra. There's like no drama and no life, and then that leads into you having no life. Like right, and it's soul sucking. It's that brain rot. It really is. It's
it
brain
is.
rot, but it's soul rot too. Because it's like, how am I supposed to have any fun if everything's just like brought down to what something's input, what something's output? Like, I'm staunchly against the like we're gonna go be computers. Like that's what we should do is like go be a transhumanist or whatever. Like that's you want to go hang out with the ones and zeros. Ultimately, that's what you want to do. You want to jack your brain into a computer that is a really big electric rock. Okay, cool. Go hang out with the rocks. Like literally go hang out on a mountain. There's a ton of rocks and you'll get a better view and you'll have lived a life versus jacking into some computer and being like, neat, I'm here forever. Now
Yeah.
what? I've learned everything. I'm omnipotent. Cool, I'm God. Sweet. Now what do you do? Like, for real, what do? You just hang out for the rest of eternity? You and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk get to jack in and, like, I don't know, play Call of Duty for the 9 jillionth time? Like, you're going to run out of stuff to do. Because you're going to do it faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, I mean, that's like some Black Mirror kind of stuff right there.
It's just nuts. It's just
Yeah.
nuts that people are, like, advocating for that.
Yeah,
That somehow virtual reality, and again, simulation theory aside, you can think that we're all, like, huffing and puffing in some weird GTA giant server somewhere. That's fine. But I think turning into a computer is not going to be fun. But again, we've talked to computers as much as we possibly can, and they don't have feelings and they don't have emotions because they're not human. No matter how many people think that on the other end, some FBI guy is pumping out the fastest response ever. But like, I don't know. It's so disheartening to be like, so you really want to, like, you're a computerist. Like, you want to just go be
Yeah.
a cyborg somewhere and go have fun doing that? Like, virtual ping pong? Okay, tight. That'll get so old in about 6 months.
yeah,
Like, until you're ready for the next game.
yeah. It is interesting.
But there is no other game. That's the
Yeah.
fun part. Is like, this is life. You get one. Like,
Yeah.
if anything has told you anything, you get one life on Earth. Wherever you go after that, great. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But while you're here, you can be a good, chill person and hang out and like try not to make life suck.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. Maybe that's a headier thing, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. I saw a video.
I'd rather go
Right.
hang out in real life than hang out virtually with anybody for any period. Of
Yeah.
time.
Oh,
for
yeah,
real.
for sure. Yeah.
I'm not a phone person. I'm becoming less of a texting person.
Yeah.
And it's like, dog, just call me and send me details of where we're gonna go hang out. Like,
Yeah.
for real, that sign. Like, that's a horrible idea. What time? It's like, it's not even a horrible idea. It sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Let's go hang out.
Yeah.
Because like, I want to spend 10 minutes with my friends. I don't want to spend 10 minutes on the phone.
Yeah, dude. There's a
lame.
video I saw not too long ago about it was like comparing people watching the ball drop like
Oh, God.
like 30 years ago to now.
Yeah.
And it just shows like the camera panning across all the people like back then. It was like in the 90s or something. And like not a single person was on a
Oh,
phone
yeah.
or ever. They're all just like hanging out, having a good time.
Oh yeah.
And then it cuts to now, like this last one, and it's like it's one person on their phone, and every single other person is on their phone, like recording the ball drop, and it's just such
gnarly.
a wild.
I don't.
It feels like a dystopian kind of thing. Like it's like we're there.
We've just been so obsessed with like, maybe we're just obsessed with our own like reflection, meaning not just like the way we look, but like the reflection part of like, I can't believe we had that memory, and like,
Yeah.
and the memory isn't enough because we're not around people to go experience memory together. We're all
Yeah.
just sitting there, kind of like, again, looking through a lens into what reality is. It's like, that's not even real.
Yeah.
Like, the recording isn't real because now you're a cameraman. Like, for real, you're just a cameraman. You're not the person experiencing the thing.
Yeah.
And that's weird. Like, I live stream. I do stuff on TikTok. Like, I understand the like attraction to generating views and what you can do with
For
that
sure,
from a
yeah.
money standpoint.
That's
but,
our world today.
yeah, but
yeah.
but you have to balance it. You have to
Yeah.
balance it with like I'm so thankful that my family like put me into Boy Scouts. Like I got to be
Same.
like kind of cowboy-y for a little bit. Like
Yeah.
and that was me growing up on like John Wayne movies and like
Mm-hmm.
getting to ride a horse. You get to be a cowboy for a week. That's as close as I've ever gotten to being like this is the coolest thing in the world. Like I got to do
Yeah.
cool stuff when I was young. And again, like it's cliche, but it's like not a phone in sight. It's like for real,
Yeah.
we didn't have phones. Like so happy I did life no phone and then with phone.
Yeah.
Because I go,
That's the thing, dude. That shouldn't be cliche. It shouldn't be.
yeah,
Like,
but again, that's
phones are so built into us now that we have to say that.
well,
that's
but
what's
that's
crazy.
I think that's the issue too. Is you get again. I launch on my iPad all the time. I'm an iPad kid myself.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah.
but like I love a Cocomelon, but like
Yeah.
I also do have that ability to turn. I've been bored before, I guess.
Yeah.
I had to like I remember summers where
Yeah.
you sit in your room
Dude.
doing nothing because
So
your buddies
sure,
are either
dude.
doing something or
So boring.
like my mom, she's like, you're gonna get first chair in clarinet even though you're gonna quit after 2 years. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna get that, and I got it for a week, and then immediately lost it. And it's like, okay, cool. Like I've been bored before, and I've run over the same things before, and I think that's also
Freaking played airsoft with your neighborhood friends.
Dude.
oh, like again, there's so many things that we've
things.
done that
So many
like
things.
again, I think people really underappreciate the value of the physical because like we've just hijacked our eyeballs. Like our eyeballs and our
Yeah.
like senses, I guess like just the full like the front of us has been completely co-opted by like our attention has just been pulled
Yeah.
in a completely different direction.
Hijacked.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because you have to like peel yourself off. Like there's a real it's Spider-Man 3, like it's Venom, it's the symbiote. Like
Yeah.
it's attached to you and you got to ring some bells to like literally get it off of you.
Yeah.
It's and
Yeah.
sometimes ringing that bell is finding a place where you can hang out or
Yes.
like going off and turning your phone. Like I turn my phone off usually every night. I try and turn it off when I sleep, just as a like
Yeah.
if I wake up at 4:00 in the morning, I'm not reaching for it because I
Yeah.
for sure have done that.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, like
Yeah,
just
dude.
immediate attention. And you're like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah,
can't.
it's
be
really
good.
not. It's really not.
Like my whole thing is if I wouldn't tell my nieces and nephews to do it, I tend to not do it,
Mm.
with exception, right? Like
Yeah.
like if it's typical practice and I wouldn't advise like playing sports, tell those kids to do that all the time. Sit on your phone for hours. I do it all the time, but I wouldn't tell them to do it, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not my advice. And I think that's part of it. That's also part of like being recorded all the time. Like there's hours and hours of streams of people just, they'll spend 20 minutes on a live stream checking their phone. Like just looking at stuff or responding to a screen or reacting to a video or whatever. And it's like, okay, so it's guy on computer time. Like I'm watching guy on computer. I can just be guy on computer. I can
Yeah.
do that. Like it's just, and again, it's just normal because you just watch that for hours. You're
Yeah.
just hooked in because it's
Dude.
attention.
What gets me, dude, is reaction videos. Like I can't stand when like a video
Oh.
comes up and it's like I'm watching someone else watch a video. That
Yeah.
drives me crazy. Dude.
I-
I'm like, I can't watch this. Dude. Like,
I also hate the play-by-play where they're talking to someone who doesn't have eyeball. Which again, if you don't have eyes and you're watching YouTube, awesome. I don't know how you're doing it. Audio only is wild. Stick to Spotify. I don't know. But yeah, it's just like
yeah,
I'm reacting to some content that somebody else made, and that's content.
yeah.
Dang.
It
What a
just-
redundancy.
You feel the brain rot.
It is
Yeah,
crazy.
and they're like, and then, oh my gosh, he is breaking the door down. That is crazy. And they have like TikTok voice or whatever.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then,
Yuck.
yeah,
oh man. But yeah, it's just, it's wild times. But again, I'm like probably like terminally optimistic. Like I don't know. That just, I harped on it last time too. I remember that. But just, you have to have a good spirit about it because it all starts with, it's not motivation. It all starts with like getting up and like doing.
yeah.
Like,
Mm.
it's a black and white choice. Like it is pretty stark of I'm either going to get up and I'm going to start my day or I'm not. And again, I'm not saying be perfect. Don't be flawless because you can't be.
Right.
And don't expect to be. But like if you're hitting most days where you're getting up and you're doing what you need to do, cool. Like start racking that up. Start adding that as wins and like keep yourself accountable for having a good spirit, right? Versus getting down in the dumps, ruminating. We all like the numbers show, and again, I don't have stats, but like all of these studies have come out where rumination, thinking about the bad things, compounds it. And
Right, yeah.
and there's a lot to be said about mindset, whether it's prayer, meditation, whatever technique you might use, whatever thing you believe in. You have to enable yourself to do it, right? Like you have to, praying about all the things that are going wrong is not, by default, not praying about the things that are good or being thankful for the things that are good.
Mhm.
So reframing it, Tony Robbins, like reframing it into, I want this thing is going to go well. What are the steps that make it go well? If the conclusion is already there that this thing is great or that I have a good life or insert whatever motto, mantra thing that I, desire.
Yeah.
Okay, make it an actuality, make it a fact that it's going to come true. First step. Second step is actualize that by chunking it out and making steps. Taking the time to go, okay, I want a motorcycle. How do I get a motorcycle? Well, okay, how much money do I need? Let me do the research. Let me look at it. Let me find the type of motorcycle that I want. Let me find all the specs, all the details. Can I get it off of Facebook Marketplace? Can I get it off of like a dealer? What's the best price for it? All these ranges. What do I need in my state? Blah, blah, blah. And then take that first step. Again, like we talked about, like just activate and go. It's Yoda. Do or do not.
Yeah.
There is no try. Like it does. It's true. It's like you have to, any sports analogy, any athlete, anybody who's been a champion at any point, and you can be a champion in your life. It's not that hard. You just have to crown yourself, kind of like you just have to do the thing and then go, "Nee, cool, like I'm the king." Like you just do it. Like literally, it's as simple as I wanted to be funny, and I've always talked about like I'll make jokes and do like lordship and ladyship stuff and speak in a British accent and all that kind of jazz. And then years down the line, I had a girlfriend who was nice enough to buy me a license, or not a license, but a land deed in Scotland. It's 1 meter by 1 meter or whatever, and it qualifies me to be a Scottish lord. So I'm Lord Zachary Lonergan. It's just fun to do. You can celebrate those little things, right?
For
like
sure.
I don't know. It just, there's so much life to be lived. There's so many things to do. That's like a hokey kind of goofy thing, but like set something up that like you're proud of or that makes you feel like happy or like motivating. And again, it's not, you don't have to go out and like lose a gajillion pounds. Like you don't have to go run a marathon. You just run down to the end of the block.
Yeah.
Like if that's the goal, crush that goal.
Mhm.
Set a goal that you know you can just like absolutely hammer. Like what's a home run of a thing? Big, small, otherwise. Go hit it.
Yeah.
Hit the ball. Go swing for it.
Yeah.
Take as many swings as you can. Who's counting the swings?
Yeah.
Like, who's counting, oh man, that guy's not successful yet? It's like, no, nobody cares. Nobody even knows you're not successful. So you can just go be successful at like little itty bitty things, and all of a sudden, that stack of evidence lines up, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're successful.
Is the title for this episode going to be Zach's terminally optimistic about crypto?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We talked about crypto for like 5 minutes. or
Yeah.
I just screamed a bunch of stuff.
But yeah, well,
We could talk about that
yeah,
again,
well,
too.
it's interesting because like when you're talking about, living life, taking risks,
Yeah.
and then tying that all back to what we were talking about in the beginning, kind of like how you were saying our generation hasn't really been through anything, like it hasn't like really been tested by like a world war or whatever that may be. It's been such an interesting time because it feels like over the last like 10 years, it's almost like we've been expecting one. It's like we're right it feels like we're
Yeah.
on the edge of one, like, and it's just constantly felt like that. But then like nothing ever happens. So it's like you feel like you're in this state where you don't really want to take a risk
Yeah.
because you're afraid of everything crashing. You're afraid of World War III happening. You're afraid of
Yeah.
all, like, the banks to crash. You're afraid of like all these things. So you never end up taking a risk. But it's like you're saying, like, eventually you have to be willing to take a risk. And eventually, and not only that, you have to be willing to keep an open mind and change with things that are
Absolutely.
changing, like
Absolutely.
podcasts. That's why, a certain someone didn't win, because they weren't willing to change with the times
Right.
and work with things that matter. And it's going to be the same with AI. It's going to be the same with cryptocurrency. Like, you have to be able to keep an open mind and change with those things. But then there's also the aspect of just things about human nature that don't change, that you have to protect, like a third place, like a need for being with people. So it really, I mean,
Masculinity.
like everything, it comes to a balance. You have to have a balance of everything.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you hit it right on the head, Zach. I think I just totally agree. It's just, we've got these scales of whatever, power, society, whatever it is, and there is a rebalancing. And again, it's not like all out war. That's not.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, truly, I don't. It's like cleaning off the table. Like, you're a waiter, you've got you're or not bussing, but you've got that full order out. It's a family of 4. You're doing their thing. They finish up. You clear the table. A new family plops down, and like, it's a new scenario. You've done the same basic scenario at the same time, like, or the same way over and over and over again. But it's like, you still start with the drinks, and then you start with the appetizers, then you go to the food, then you go to dessert, then you go to the check. Like, it's repeatable, and it's just the scenario it's just the variety that changes, or the tools at hand. Like, you don't know if this guy's going to get a steak or if he's going to get chicken. Like, you have no clue. You have no idea what, like, dietary restrictions, but, like, I don't know. You have no idea until they sit down. So you ask them. And it's like, our generation kind of hasn't been asked of, like, a lot of people have told us what we need to do. They've directed us to,
Right, yeah.
well, you've got to consume and you've got to do all this stuff. And, like, why don't you get the next trendy thing? And, like, Temu's tight. And, like, all this other, like, but you could have it at the snap of, like, a finger, and Amazon 2-day and shows galore at your fingertips. And nobody's ever really asked us, like, hey, did you want to watch that? Or, like,
Yeah.
did you want to do that? And eventually, the people that are, like, would have that control over us will not be there. Like, there is that changing of the guard that happens, and it's like, I think we're prepared. I think we just need. I think it needs to happen sooner rather than later for us to be able to just kind of jump in and start doing stuff. Like, I don't.
For sure.
And I'm confused on the hesitancy that a lot of people have, where it's like, you raised us, so if you didn't raise us right, why are you so like, you should have raised us correctly to be able to carry the logs and carry the boats and do all this other stuff and instill with us good values and morals and a way to command stuff. But it's like, if you don't let us try that stuff and kind of practice run it and fall down and then start to pick up and then start to run and then start to sprint, like, we'll miss our chance, right? Like, that's the fear. That's the only fear I have, is that we'll miss the boat because somebody's literally just holding up the opportunity and going, I don't think we should give you this yet. And yet, it's inevitable. We have to. So leaders will pop up. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Is there's going to be true, it's the adage, good times make weak men make hard times make hard men, or whatever.
Yeah.
Good men.
Good men, hard
Good
men.
men
whatever
make
it
good
is.
times. Yeah.
A bunch of David Gogginses.
Yeah.
But it's like,
right,
all right,
right.
well, we've been in some hard times, and again, to say we haven't fought a war and that's not enough. Like, we've seen some pretty messed up stuff at our fingertips. Like, for real, we've seen death, we've seen destruction, we've seen it's happening in our country, it's happening in other countries, and we can see it all now. We've got a full pane of glass, just like
Yeah,
wide
that's
open
true.
to see it.
You can watch a 3-hour montage of freaking
Yeah. Hey,
GoPro footage of the
again,
Ukraine war.
word of the year was brain rot. Break that word down.
Yeah.
Brain rot. My brain's rotting.
Yeah.
What?
And that's
Yeah.
supposed to be popular, so it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
Whoa! Like
Yeah,
all of a
that's-
sudden,
That's something that we're dealing with
yeah,
right
it's
now.
just like I'd like my brain not to melt. I already
Same.
have enough concussions undiagnosed. I already
Yeah.
have enough CTE to worry about in 30 years. I'm hoping to make enough money that I can actually get a brain scan. You know, like
Yeah.
that's where we're headed. Is like, I really just before all of my marbles fall out, I'd like to utilize the couple of marbles that I do for sure have.
Yeah.
And that people like another thing that I was going to say is like we didn't decide to be the participation trophy people. We didn't ask for participation awards. You know, like all the things that people put on millennials, like self-righteous or entitled or participation or were parented by helicopter parents, which is like, how did I make that choice? How is that my fault
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
parented helicopterally? What? What?
I feel like it's definitely more so for Gen Z.
Yeah, but same
like
same
that-
thing. It's
that
like
stereotype.
you're
Yeah.
blaming the kids on what the parents did.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Or holding them accountable for what their parents did. It's like, well, last time I checked, parents parent and kids kid. So like kids aren't parenting, or they shouldn't. And it just really it's disheartening to go, hey, you're the next generation, but we have no faith in you.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
You
that
taught
is
me
how it
everything.
feels.
Like,
Yeah.
you have no faith in your own. So you're a bad coach. So you're a bad coach. Like
I
you
mean,
should be
yeah,
fired. Like
yeah.
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
Mm.
I think I can catch the ball, throw it up. Like it's a jump ball. It's 50-50. That's the point. Because I want you to trust me 51%, so I can go up and get it. Like for real, I want to be able to box the dude out and jump high, because I know I can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I know the feeling of catching the ball and scoring and being like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And you just need more chances. You need more plays.
I mean, yeah, that's why in the midst of change, like something, like what you're talking about is important with cryptocurrency because, yeah, it should probably, make sense for you to invest some money into crypto or invest
Sure.
in, have an asset or whatever. But like the more and more you look into all this stuff and like the more you research successful people, like the more I've realized, and we talked about a lot about this, but like the more I've realized that it not just investing your money in like something, to get an asset or whatever, but to invest the majority of your time into yourself. And
Absolutely.
so, and making yourself a high value person so that even when currency changes, you as an individual are valuable enough to know, okay, the currency is changing, but
Yeah.
I know that I can do what I need to do to make money, to make a living in that. And when you as an individual have skills that people need, then you're never gonna run out of something to do. You're never
Absolutely.
gonna run out of being needed. Like
Well, and it's you're going to be at fault for your own, like you have to take accountability for your own life. Like the things that happen to you are because of either actions you took or situations that you were in. And again, that's not to diminish bad things that happen to people just by random. That it happens. Shit.
yeah,
You get bad luck. You run into things that again, you had no idea were going to happen, all that stuff. What you can do is after you get hit by something otherworldly or just, just completely rocks you, is get back up. Because
Yeah.
again, everything is screaming at you.
well,
The
that's
vast
how you get better. That's
Right.
how you become.
Well, and it's how you just persevere. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a tremendous attribute to have, is perseverance. Like
Yeah,
you can get through hard things. You totally can. Does it suck? Yes, absolutely. It sucks the most.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's the nature of
that's
hard
why
things.
things are difficult. Is
Yeah.
because it's a challenge, right?
Mhm.
And again, that challenge again could be running up the stairs once, or doing a
Right.
set of lunges, or eating good food for a week, even though you love to eat fried chicken.
Mhm.
Like, I'd love to eat Bush's chicken every day of the week. I'd love to make myself a little chicken sandwich and dip it in gravy with a little ketchup. and a lot of pepper and munch. But I did that, and I was super fat, and I didn't feel good about myself, and I didn't physically feel good. And then I got a nutritionist. I spent money on a nutritionist, and I just took the steps that I didn't know how to take, and I put it into somebody else's hands and went, help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we need more of that. We need more open ability to help people. And again, kind of to your point of just like, you know, there's so many things out there that are, you know, adverse, and there's a lot weighing on us but there are options to get out from under that weight, or to spread that weight a little bit lighter. Like, again, taking it back to not being able to afford a house, or the aspiration of, man, I'd love to be so lucky to get a house, right? For me, buying little chunks of a Bitcoin, and again, people can believe it or not believe it, but for me, it's putting little bits of money away that I know I can put away without like ruining my life. Eventually, I'll put $5 away, and $5 away, and $5 away. It's my way of slowly saving a down payment, or slowly getting to one whole coin. And that whole coin does have value. It's the price of a Porsche. So like, I'm buying it like Johnny Cash, one piece at a time. I got this little nut, this little bolt, this little thing, this little piece of rubber, this switch, this cord, whatever. And I'm just slowly stacking it. And eventually, again, you just have, that's the issue that we have too, is the immediacy. It's like, you're not just going to get it today. You're not going to wake up tomorrow, Bitcoin's going to just super moon and go to $3 million. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But that could happen over the course of 3 years. Just stick to it. Do 53 in a row.
Right.
Do 53 in a row and see what happens. Because you have no idea what's going to happen, but you for sure know what's going to happen if you do 0. Or if you quit after 20. Then it just stops.
Yeah.
Then it's over. It's like, I don't know, fiercely optimistic on that, of just being the icebreaker.
Consistency.
Like just crush through it. Like, if we're supposed to go through hard times, cool, I'm going to load up and we'll hard time this thing until it gets easy. Great. Tell me when the hard times are over, because I'm going to keep chugging. Like, I'll just keep pulling the sled. Just go. But yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So, what do you want people to follow you on TikTok, or where do you want people to find you?
No, I think TikTok is dying. I truly do. I think it's just, it's been pushed so much as a spy tool that I think it's gone. But unless somebody buys it, unless Mr. Wonderful with 2 watches buys it, then because he's like TikTok, so he's got it made. He probably will buy it. No, Instagram's fine. I'm gonna do more Instagram content, so it's just these. I think it's the Zach Lonergan. I think. Let me check. I might have switched it to Lonnie, which is not smart. No, it's okay. Instagram is the Zach Lonergan, and then LinkedIn's just first and last name.
Okay.
LinkedIn's going to be where I'm probably posting more like analysis. I took a Google Data Analytics course, so I'm like technically allowed to talk about analysis now.
Very cool.
I wanted to just get certifications, and that's a thing. I'll tell it right to the camera. Just go online and get certifications. They cost money, but you can go through like Coursera and do $45 a month, or you can just take it for the first month and like gun it and just work really, really hard and get 2 or 3 certifications. It doesn't have to take 2 months. But do Coursera, do any, Microsoft has courses. Google for sure has courses with Coursera. The Blockchain Council is where I got my cryptocurrency expert certification. So it's literally the laundry list of what is blockchain technology, how did they make coins out of it, why it's useful, what banks do with it, what decentralized banks do with it, how you lend, how you buy, how you trade, and then you take a test and you have to pass that in order to get the certification.
Very cool.
So it's there's so many resources.
Investing in yourself.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
For real.
Tying it
And
all
it's-
together.
And they do deals. Like they have coupon codes and everything. Like I used shameless plug, Honey. Like I'm not sponsored, no sponsorship, but like Honey saved me $100.
Yeah.
I didn't think Honey was a thing anymore until I saw the plugin on my like Google tabs and I was like, huh, I was like, sweet,
Apparently
$86, let's launch. Like,
Yeah.
let's just go learn something.
Apparently they scammed a ton of creators. You see that?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
You
They had,
y'all haven't seen that?
I
Oh,
knew
dude.
that they had gone through some weird thing.
So I'll give you the scoop. So apparently, real quick, what happened was, so like when you click an affiliate code, say on a YouTube video, underneath one just like this, even though we don't have any yet, if they were an affiliate for Honey or they were sponsored by Honey, it would take them to. Wait, is that how it worked? No. Okay, so if like you clicked on, say you're gonna buy like a computer from someone, it would go to that site, and then when anyone would install Honey and say, I want to use Honey's coupons, it would put a quick change tracker in the URL that
wow.
made that commission that would have gone to the creator all of a sudden now went to Honey because
oh,
they just
whoa.
checked out
so
with
they were rerouting the referral code back
Holy
to
crap.
them.
Yeah, so they stole like millions of dollars
Wow.
from creators that.
I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of platforms that really want to aggregate the money and then tell you how much you get. Like, it's very, again, like that's the other crypto part is like, I just want control over the money that is mine.
Yeah.
I do not want other people to like be able to stick their hand in my piggy bank. That seems like a normal thing to do.
What's crazy is Markiplier, the YouTuber, he actually
Oh,
called,
he called
it
it.
about 3
I
years
saw that.
ago.
I
There's
saw
a
that
clip
clip.
of him on stream, and he's like,
Honey
I
seems
just don't
sketch.
know. Honey seems sketch. Like,
Yeah.
where's all this money coming from?
Really?
He
Yeah.
literally calls it out. He's like, he's like, that's why I haven't ever done a sponsorship from them, because he's like, I just don't know where they're getting that millions of dollars. Turns out from scamming people just like
Yeah,
him.
yeah, just taking people's money.
That's crazy, dude.
We're,
Gosh.
I mean, that's a tale as old as time. But
Paranoid
that's just,
survive.
that's just so.
That's right.
It's just like people's business model is scam and then apologize because you can pay the fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like for
dude.
real, it's like, oh, but I have that money. I can
Yeah.
pay that off with your money. Like, it's a crime to have it, and you're like,
Well, and
literally,
not
I would
to-
take your wallet out of your pocket and pay for like a parking ticket and be
Not
like,
to
here you go, and launch your empty wallet back at you. Like,
Crap
what is
on
happening?
cryptocurrency after we just talked about it, but
Yeah.
there is a lot of scams going on where creators will start an
big time.
altcoin and then they'll just pump and dump immediately.
If it's got somebody's name in it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seriously,
dude,
do not buy
seriously,
it. That is
yeah.
like the biggest indicator is it's a
Insane, dude.
celebrity telling you to get it. And
It's
the other
insane.
just, disclaimers out there. I'll talk to the camera for hours about this. But but don't buy one of the coins that's been around for 10 years. That should be your marker. Is like
Hmm.
it's got to be one of the original ones. If you need help figuring out when you can find a date or how to research it, just ask me. I have a weird, slightly autistic amount of information about this. It's stuck in my head, so I'm happy to push it out to everybody. But for real, don't buy a celebrity coin. There are like 2 or 3 really good coins out there, and treat it like you would gold or silver. So
Mhm.
take it with that importance, and again, just go like, okay, I'm gonna quadruple check this thing and do your research. For real, don't just listen to me. Don't just Google it. Just like look into it. If you have a financial advisor, talk to your financial advisor. If they don't know about it, ask them to do research. Because in the next 10 years, everything is gonna be on your phone, whether you like it or not, from a money standpoint. And that's my big prediction is you want like Apple Cash and all this other stuff, you'll be able to pay with 2 clicks of your lock button and like your passcode. Like that's
Yeah.
that's
You
where
won't
we're
have to bring
headed.
your wallet anywhere, I don't think.
You won't, yeah, wallets won't be a thing because your
Yeah.
ID is going to be on here. They do medical records are tokenized. So now it is fully, you're just playing in various Chuck E. Cheese's, and every Chuck E. Cheese has a different coin, and you can make money off of that if you're doing your research and understanding it properly.
Well,
Yeah.
on that note, thank you everyone for listening. Appreciate you. Go check out Zach's Instagram, hit him
What a
up,
rant.
ask him all the questions.
What an absolute rant of an
And
episode. Tim Dillon, call me. I want to rant. I want to have so much fun.
you
dude.
guys would do really
Me
well
and
together.
Tim would have a blast.
Dude.
Tim, let's hang out. Dude, I loved him. He's so great. He's a lunatic. I love him. He's like my favorite type of person. He's like, he's just like a reformed theater kid, like hardcore. Like, I used to be on stage. Now I have a show.
It's so funny that he was on Batman, or not Batman. what was it?
Joker. Joker
Joker,
2.
yeah, Joker 2.
Joker 2.
He
Electric
was.
Boogaloo.
No
He's
way.
in Joker 2.
Yeah, he had like
and-
one line and he messed it up so many times. he said they took like 70 takes.
Jeez.
I love it. I love it. Tim, we love you. I love you. I can't speak for for the podcast.
Maybe one day we'll be able to hook you up, dude.
Oh, that'd be so great. He's not moving to Austin. He's hanging out in LA.
Well, we enjoyed having you as our first guest of the year and first guest back in the physical studio.
First
love
guest of
it.
Arc 4.
First guest of Arc 4, which is the Ascension arc.
Yeah, the
Arc
Ascension.
4, the winter arc. I want both of you to grow your hair out like Bucky Barnes. I want robot arms.
And if you didn't listen to his first episode, go listen to his first episode, and we'll catch you next time on Second Floor Experience. Peace.
I want to talk to you. Not now, later. No, now.